Just off the west coast of Scotland is a little island called Islay, and Islay is absolutely renowned worldwide for its Scotch whisky. However, today we're going to take a look at something a little different, and that is the only brewery on the island of Islay. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and that's right, today we are taking a look, as I said, at the only brewery on the island of Islay. Whilst I won't go as far as to say it may be the only place on earth where distilleries outnumber breweries, well, it's got to be a bit of a rarity at this point in time, but this is one of them. So today I've got 4 cans of beer from Islay Ales. I am going to try and resist the urge to call it Islay because, well, my slightly dumb brain reads it that way. I did an entire video once on an Islay whiskey barrel conditioned beer from Innis & Gunn and called it Islay all the way through, and well, you can imagine what all the comments said on that video, was telling me I was an idiot, which I was. So yeah, Islay Ales. We're taking a look at these. Now, these 4 cans I've got, I'm not going to drink them all today, to be honest, because it would be a waste. I want to savour and appreciate them. And whilst I don't know which one of these actually we are going to drink yet, I'm sure you will have known from the title below. So you know before I do, which is fun. But yeah, I was in Scotland a couple of weeks ago. I was in a place called Tarbert, which is right at the north of the Campbelltown Peninsula, which, well, actually looks like a massive wang, but never mind. Anyway, I was at a whiskey shop called Whisky West Coast. If you ever happen to be that way, it is a fantastic little shop, mainly whiskey as you would imagine, but they did do a few craft beers as well, so I couldn't help but pick out a few. The ones I picked up are the Islay Ales Nerebus Red Rye Ale. It's a ruby ale, 4.8%, lovely looking can. I mean, all of these look very similar. They've all got the kind of standard design, which I like. We've got a Black Rock Smoked Stout, 4.8% again. That's 4.8? Yeah, 4.8 again. And then we've got a Saligo wheat beer, Saligo, 3.8. Whole ABV lower than that. They're 0.8s around here. And then just to prove me wrong, of course, their Big Strand Craft Lager coming in at 4%. It's a nice looking section of beers, to be honest. I've never had anything from them. As I say, they are the only brewery on the island. I was about to say I was lucky enough that Whisky West Coast had a delivery on the day that I went, but actually that's not true. I went one day and got 2 of them because that's all they had. Then I had to go back the next day to pick up the rest as I was leaving the peninsula, but hey, I had to drive past it, so it wasn't a problem. The question now is, though, which one of these beers are we going to try? And I've given this some thought. I've done a bit of research online, and I'm going to go for the one that, well, just happens to be the highest rated on Untapped. Not that that's a particularly good measure of the quality of any beer, of course, but also the one that I think might be, well, let's say the most sympathetic to its origins, which, of course, is the Black Rock Smoked Stout, because, well, Islay is renowned for its incredibly heavily smoky peated whiskey, even though the bottle I actually showed you at the intro of this video isn't one of their peated ones, but we'll have to ignore that just because I'm not the biggest fan of them. But I do quite like that flavour in beer, as I'm hoping there's some of that slightly earthy, mineral, peat smoke quality in this Black Rock Smoked Stout. The description on the front of it is, our dark, dry stout includes chocolate malt, oats and roasted barley with a subtle touch of peated barley, here we go, adding smoked overtones to our aromas of high cocoa, whichever, and espresso coffee, although they've called it, oh, look at the can. Can you see that? They've called it espresso coffee. I think that's just a common misinterpretation. As far as I'm aware, espresso is always an S, not an X. But anyway, 4.8%, product of Scotland. I'm not going to read the back. I don't want to know too much more about it before we try it. But yeah, it looks, another quick look, like an absolutely fantastic looking thing. But I guess we now need to know how it tastes. Pulling out my favourite of all glasses for this one, the Stemmed Allegra from Twisted Hops. Let's get into it. Just while we wait for that to settle down a bit, I'll give you another little anecdote from my trip up to Scotland where I collected these beers, where I stayed on a little campsite, beautiful little place, like 8 pitches, on the seafront, on the beach, basically. Glorious, glorious location when the weather was nice, which it was when we got there. Not so much when we left, has to be said. I got absolutely soaked, but from that spot, you could see several islands, one of them being Jura, which is pretty well renowned for its whiskey from the Jura brand, and Islay. So if I've managed to take a picture that's suitable, then I'll throw it on the screen now, and if not, I'll just give you a rough idea of where I was versus, well, where this is. So let's get into the beer. Visually, it is... That's jet black. There is no light bleeding through there at all, so that makes me very happy with the stout for some reason. Not that all good stouts have to be jet black, of course, but there's something about it when you hold it up to the light and you just go, I can make nothing out at all. You know they didn't cut any corners in the malt bill, and it's just going to be, yeah, it's a good indicator of quality in my eyes. And well, that head has got, it's a bit excited. It's got a decent sized, nicely foamed kind of cafe crema, light coffee coloured head on it. Yeah, looks good, looks appetizing. Let's get into it. That aroma screams no nonsense, straight up, well put together, proper craft stout. There's light coffee notes, sweet coffee notes, a bit of chocolate, hints of vanilla, hints maybe even a little bit of nutmeg or cinnamon spice somewhere lingering right at the back there. That could actually be kind of the smokiness from the peat just hiding and disguising and kind of infusing with a few other notes. But smokiness comes through. It's a little bit light barbecue, but sweet, fresh. It's not dominating anyway. It smells like I'm going to enjoy this quite a lot, if I'm honest. So let's get into it, shall we? Cheers. Oh, that's a stout. That is a proper stout. Like kind of the aroma it gave away. No nonsense, no adjunct, just this beautiful... It's weirdly rich, decadent, but also approachable, refreshing, which unfortunately does mean the body's a little thin, but I guess given the amplitude of flavour in here, that actually might be to its benefit in some ways, and I can taste that beautiful peated smoked barley right in the back there. Tickles the back of the tongue, but they've not overdone it. They could have easily put this out there and been trying to be like a heavily peated smoked Islay whiskey, and they've not. They've just a tip of the hat, a little bit of a suggestion, just you know, they're doing their own thing, but a bit of a nod to the heritage of where they're from. And whilst I would have been happy even to see a bit more of that smoked peated flavour, I actually think this is a recipe to, yeah, really get people on board with the idea before hitting them with something a bit harsher. And yeah, that is absolutely... Well, it's delicious. Really, absolutely delicious. I have been waffling on for a bit already, so let's do a very quick top to bottom taste test to see exactly what other notes we can pick out of here. So initially, slightly bitter, sharp coffee right on the front of the tongue. It's not off-putting, but if you're really averse to bitter beer, then that might be not the most welcoming entrance. And then the good news is that immediately fades out. Goes a bit more creamy, sweet coffee. I don't know how dedicated I am to the idea that this has got a vanilla flavour, but there's definitely something slightly creamier, slightly sweeter than just the coffee notes. It's almost toying with you in a way, kind of flicking between vanilla and lightly sweetened berries. But it continues because mid-phase, where you tend to get a lull in a lot of beers, and there is in this, but what it does at that point is shows off that beautiful, clean, mineral-rich Scottish water profile. It lets you appreciate that this is back to basics in a way, no nonsense, straight up, just showing what can be done with the raw ingredients, until it's party trick right at the end, where dries the tongue out massively. Richer but not bitter coffee flavours, rich dark chocolate even. And you think that's going to be it, that's normal kind of, you know, stout territory. And then, as it departs, in the aftertaste, you just get this lingering of slightly sweet barbecue kind of, you know, pit smoke, and it's just, it comes with this extra thing that you only get out of kind of peated smoked malt. I don't really know the best way to describe it. I'm sure others have done a better job than me in the past, but it's smoke that has this kind of additional mineral quality. It's maybe a little bit earthy, a little bit grassy, a little bit mossy even. It's not intense, it's not big, it's not off-putting, but it's smoke with a difference. It's distinctly peat smoke. But as I say in this, it's very subtle, it's very approachable, and if you kind of like the idea but don't want the intensity of that kind of thing, this is an absolutely solid choice. Right then, just before we wrap this up, let's take a quick look at the can. On the back it says, Blackrock, as small boys on Islay, for us Blackrock was no normal rock structure, but the mortal remains of a monstrous creature from the past, sitting ominous and dark on the western side of Loch Indal. I don't know, I probably haven't pronounced that right, but yeah. And then it says, Islay Ales, we are Islay boys hailing from the Rins Peninsula of Scotland's most famous whisky isle. We have brewed a range of craft beers for the ilk and for those further afield since 2004. We hope you enjoy our beer. It's signed off by one of the owners, or both of the owners, possibly. Ingredients are water, barley, wheat, oats, hops and yeast. Vegan friendly, no nonsense, raw material stuff. And unsurprisingly, their address is on the Isle of Islay. And I've got a tiny bit left, which I'm going to go and enjoy whilst inevitably starting to edit this video. But yeah, Islay Ales, Blackrock Smoked Stout, that is a massive thumbs up. And I will be getting some more of that. And it's always difficult with a brewery you've never tried before, buying a whole row from them. You're like, how's this going to be? They weren't expensive cans by modern standards, but they weren't cheap either. Maybe they were, you know, they were definitely craft beer priced, let's put it that way. So yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but having had that one, I'm not nervous anymore, because that, frankly, is just no-nonsense deliciousness. And until next time, that really is everything. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe, if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you then. Cheers.